Hariam everyone, welcome to this class on Ishavasya Upanishad. We'll just start with the chanting first. Om Sahna Vavatu Sahnau Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karvavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. ओम गणानां त्वा गणपतिगं हवामहे कविं कवीनामुपमश्रवस्तमं ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणां ब्रह्मणस्पत आनशृण्वन्नोतिभिः सीदसादनम् ॐ श्रीमहागणपतये नमः। सरस्वती नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणि विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुरेव परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। We'll also chant the Shanti part of this Upanishad. So those of you, if you have the book, we have shared the earlier PDF version. I'll just open the Shanti part here. So this is the Shanti part of Ishavasya Upanishad. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Avashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So this we usually chant at the end of a Havan or end of many. So the class is not yet over. We are just beginning. So no one go away, please. So this is the beginning of the Ishavasya Upanishad. This is an Upanishad from Yajurved, and the Yajurved Upanishads, they usually have this Shanti part. Okay. So before we move on to the Upanishad proper, today we will just first go on to the basics of the Hindu spiritual system and what it entails. Those who have done earlier classes, they would have done the Ishavasya Upanishad. Before this, we did the first we started with Tattva Bodh. So in Tattva Bodh, we have discussed all of this, but yes, we'll also discuss a bit of it here also, because unless we know where we stand with respect to this structure, then we will not be clear about this text that we are going to study now, right? So now coming to this, the Vedic structure. So we have basically everything starts with the Vedas, right? Everything starts with the Vedas, the Vedic structure. Everything starts there. So when we look at our Vedas, how many Vedas we have? Most of you, I think you would know. It is the four Vedas. So Rig Ved, Yajur Ved, Atharva Ved, and Sam Ved, right? So these four Vedas, they are the main spiritual texts of our system, of our Hindu spiritual tradition. So out of these Vedas, we have, again, they are further subdivided into four parts, right? Subdivided into four parts. These are the Mantra Bhag, then you have the Brahmana, then you have the Aranyak, and then we have the Upanishad. So these are the four parts into which the Vedas are divided. Out of these, the first and the most important is considered the Ved Mantra Bhag. It is also called the Samhita. So the Samhita contains the what we call the Vedic mantras, which reveal the nature of reality in a multiple format, right? So Ved mantras, we say they are magical. They are magical. So like if every Ved mantra that we listen or if we analyze, we will find that it has a meaning, that is one meaning of that one very same mantra will be related to the karmic aspect, karma, how we perform any action. So that is one meaning. Okay, and then the second is the meaning that is related to the upasana aspect. So that very same mantra, that is very same Ved mantra, will have a upasana aspect also related to it. And then the third meaning is the uh, that Vedic mantra will be when related to the knowledge aspect, jnana. So jnana aspect is there. So when we study these mantras, we also have a system of chanting these mantras, and this chanting is supposed to energize us from within, and that is called the vibrational aspect. That is the, you can say in a way, the fourth meaning. So it is not a meaning in the truest or the strictest sense. The fourth aspect of every mantra is the vibrational. Every mantra, when we chant, it energizes us from within, and it awakens within us the different powers that lie dormant within us. These powers we call as, what do we call those powers? Devatas, right? Devatas. They are the devatas that lie dormant within us. So to activate them, when we chant that, even without knowing the meaning, when we chant the Vedic mantra, those devatas, they come within us. So just like Indra represents Vivek Shakti, the power to discriminate between the uh, real and the unreal, not right and wrong, real and unreal. So that is one of the main powers that we need when we are on the journey towards knowledge. So that is Indra. Then we have Surya. Surya represents consciousness, the consciousness aspect, or just even plainly the knowledge aspect, and so on. So all of these devas, they are with us on this journey of knowledge, as well as anything that we need in our life. Without those devas, they do not, we cannot have any kind of achievement. So they are with us all the way when we go into a spiritual journey. So these devas have, we can say, like they are powers within us. So they are behind every power that we already have also, right? So all our sense organs, they also have some devta behind them. So devta represents the total potential of any power, while we have a very small part of that potential, right? So if I am talking what we said about Surya, then Surya Devta, then Surya Devta represents the total seeing potential of all the universe. And we have a very small small part of that seeing potential within our eyes. This which is our individual indriya or sense organ. So these are the powers that we awaken within us once we chant the Vedic mantras, right? So these, they take us to finally towards the highest aspect, which is knowledge. Now, next part of the Vedas is the Brahmanas. So the Brahmanas represent different karmas that we say, karma kanda that you would have heard. So a lot of you would have heard about this part, about there being the first part of the Vedas being karma kanda, and final part being the jnana kanda. So you will not find any karma kanda in the mantra bhag. Be very careful, right? So when you actually read it, you will find that the karma kanda is basically different actions that we have to do, and that is all given to us in the Brahman bhag. So what happens when we study the Brahman bhag? It does not. Some people, know, we hear sometimes they look down upon karma kanda. They say karma kanda traps you. But karma kanda is, of course, traps you in the sense that it is just a step toward the final stage of human knowing, which is knowledge, jnana kanda, which comes in the Upanishads, which we will look very soon. So this karma kanda that we have, it basically teaches us the best way to do any activity. What does it start with? With devotion towards the different powers that will help us on this journey. So devatas. So these devatas that we have activated with the Ved mantras, the Ved samhitas, they will help us in that journey. And once we do the actions, the karma, not in the normal way with which we do actions, but with a sense of devotion, with a sense of, so you can say, surrender to the different divine powers, then those divine powers, they aid us in our journey. They make the journey smoother. They make every action reach its zenith or reach the highest point in the best way possible, right? So in this way, these karmas, we are able to do them in a very effective way. So that is the proper way by which these karmas are to be done. So basically, the karma starts with the sankalpa. Sankalpa means we make a mental decision in our mind that this is the thing we have to do. So that is what is provided by this when we start doing the karmas by this Brahmana part. So there we are taught the simple method of first starting with surrender, devotion to a devta, offering prayers, telling the devta that this is the thing we want to do, that is the sankalpa. And then finally we move towards the actual worship part, chanting of mantras, whereby our mind gets energized to do the job in on hand in the best way possible, right? In the best way possible. So that is how the Brahmana Bhag. So what is this Brahmana Bhag has to have to do with the Vedas? What does this Brahmana Bhag has to have to do with the Vedas? So this Brahmanas being the second part, so they reveal the karmic meaning of that very same first verse. So if a verse is given and the karmic part is to be done, karmic part has to be revealed, then that karmic meaning is revealed of that very same Vedic verse by this Brahman Bhag, once we study the Brahman Bhag. Of course, as I have revealed earlier, this thing can also be revealed by the simpler process of Samarpana. So when we surrender ourselves in knowledge to the Lord, the highest knowledge which is receivable to us, when we surrender to what we call the Adakshar, the Paramaksharam Om. So when we surrender to that, then the Om becomes vibrational within us and all knowledge is revealed to us in due time. But first we have to go through a guru, right? The guru is the step we have to take initially, because initially that knowledge is not understood by us, right? So through the Brahmans, we learn to do the karmic part of the of our duties. Then second is the Aranyak. So Aranyak is basically Aranya. So Aranya represents jungle, where we go for a peaceful meditation, right? Where we go apart from our normal routine and we go to meditate. So Aranyaks represent a lot of different upasanas or different meditations by which we are going to learn the upasana meaning of that very same Vedic verse, right? So this being a part of the Vedas, it has a separate set of texts. So those texts, when we read, they reveal the upasana meaning of those very, very same Vedic verses, right? So in this way, similarly, final part we say is the Upanishads. So Upanishads, when we study, they tell us about the nature of reality, about how reality is actually functioning, what are its different parts, aspects. So that is revealed in the Upanishads. We call them the Gyan Kand. So the Upanishads are very much a part of the Veda. They represent the Gyan Kand, right? So now, where do these Upanishads, where do we find those Upanishads? Are they totally separate texts? Right? So some of them, some of the Upanishads are separate texts, but some of them are also hidden within the different Vedic parts of Mantra Sanhita, Brahmanas, and Aranyaks. So they are hidden from there. So, like if you have heard of one of the biggest, the largest Upanishads, that is Brihad Aranyak Upanishad. So you see the name Aranya, Brihad Aranyak Upanishad, right? So it is from the Aranyak part, right? So there is a Shatpat Brahmana. It is a part of that also, but from that part there is another Aranyak from which we can extract that. So it is a part of that, right? So Upanishads basically, from the large texts, we extract certain portions which concern only with the knowledge of the highest self, which is the knowledge of my own nature only, my own nature, or the nature of the highest reality. That highest reality we name as Brahman, right? Some terms I'm using from our previous classes. Those of you attended and know those terms, then they would know them. I hope that they will not be very tough terms also. But if anyone encounters anything that you have not heard before or would you like to know, then you can ask me in the questions at the end of the class. So if you missed anything or you want to be more clear. So there is some knowledge I will assume that you guys would know from your own studies maybe. Maybe a lot of you would know more than me, of course. That is to be expected and very, very welcome. But whatever you know, do use to your advantage to understand whatever is being taught here, right? So when we go into the text, now this text that we are studying, Ishavasya Upanishad, right? So this is the Upanishad that we are going to study. It is a part of that Upanishad. Now, what is a very special thing about this Ishavasya Upanishad? So all the Upanishads, there are how many Upanishads we don't know. There, because we have the Vedas, they have different branches by which they spread to different parts of the, you can say the earth, the different, or you can say India, because basically they have been preserved more mainly in India and in the Sanskrit language. So when we look at the different branches, we call them shakhas, right? Shakha is a branch also if you translate literally, right? So there are different groups that they migrated to different parts of the country, and then the Vedic mantras are common for all of them. The mantra bhag is the same. It is not different for all of them, right? But the Brahman bhag, the Aranyak, and the Upanishads, they are different for different areas. Wherever they migrated, there were new rishis, new people. So who knows the Vedic mantras? It is the rishi. So what is the rishi? The rishi is one who has totally tuned his mind with the total reality. So that total reality which we just named Brahman, right? So when we study the text, we understand through that there is the highest reality, which is Brahman, which is infinite, which is, you can say, beyond our mental conception. Yet it is the one that is inherent in every core, every fiber of this universe, right? And also beyond. Right. So that Brahman is the highest reality, infinite, without any limitations. And when we study more and more, then we understand that my nature also is that of a soul, and that soul is of the nature of consciousness. And since consciousness, we will learn, is not something that can be put into a box or controlled. It has, because consciousness has no form. So my consciousness and that of the consciousness of Brahman is one and the same. So I am limited because I am just functioning through this body of mine. I limit myself to this body. But actually I am a soul. So I am a soul, and that soul is one with Brahman only. I myself am Brahman. So that concept we will understand with the text when we go deeper into the text. But it is good to know that, because we have done this in other texts earlier, and the Upanishad supposes that you know the basic of this. It will reveal the intimate details of this as we study the text. But for now, the Upanishad will not be telling you to hold on to this knowledge. It will just say that it will assume that you know that this will be evident in the very first mantra itself. We will explain the Shanti part, and there we can see that aspect, right? So out of these, so we have seen the Upanishads that are there. There are literally, you can say, thousands of Upanishads, thousands of Upanishads. But out of that, some people say there are 1008 that are available today. And out of that also, the more popular ones are 108. So 108 Upanishads are there, they say, which have been listed in many texts also. And this 108 list is pretty much common. Then again, out of that, we have what we call the Brahma Sutras. They are another portion of our text. I will explain that a bit later. So the Brahma Sutras represent the culmination of this Vedantic knowledge. They represent the condensation of this knowledge into short sentences where they reveal about this knowledge, right? So when we learn about this Vedic system, then in this Vedic system, we have seen the Vedas divided into these four parts. But when we go into the Upanishads, they are not that easy to comprehend, right? They are a bit tough. So they need to be taught learned under a guru, right? So when you study that Upanishad, sometimes it is better to have gone through what we call is a Prakaran Grantha. So the Tattva Bodh that we studied, that was Prakaran Grantha. we have a set of texts which have been written by a lot of our wise people, and they are the Prakaran Granthas, through which the basic terminologies that will come up in the advanced texts are explained there, right? So we have Tattva Bodh, Atma Bodh, Vivek Chudamani, and so on, hundreds of Prakaran Granthas also. They tell us about these terms that are used, and also in themselves, they are also complete enumeration of the truth, right? So what are they telling us? They are telling us about the nature of reality. So how does the knowledge of the nature of reality follow from? That follows from our ability to see the truth. So as we've seen, the rishis are the ones who are able to see the truth in the most purest sense. So Rishi tunes his mind with this Brahman. So when he tunes his mind with the highest reality, he is able to hear the Vedic mantras. And that is how they have written them down, and they have come down to us through the different rishis. And they were all heard by different rishis in the same language set and the system. So it was written by different rishis. So some of you will say that there are Vedic mantras which have different rishis names. So did they hear only that part? This is strictly not true. The rishi there represents the bhava, the emotion that is associated, or the thinking that is associated with a particular mantra. So therefore, those different bhavas are the rishis that are named there in those Vedic mantras. So now when those rishis have revealed those mantras to us, then through a common person understanding, when he goes to a guru, he starts with the Prakaran Grantha, where the initial meanings are explained. So there we learn that through different texts we saw as like Tattva Bodha, Atma Bodha, etc. So we have covered those texts in earlier classes. So when we look at those texts, they will tell us about what our sense organs are, what is the nature of the soul, what are the different aspects of that. So all of these aspects, they first came to us in the form of what we call Darshan Shastras. So we have in all 6 Darshan Shastras. So what are they? Nyaya, Vaisheshik, Yog, Sankhya, Purvamimamsa, and Uttar Mimamsa. So these are the 6. So they are the 6 ways of knowing the reality. There are 6 ways of knowing the reality. So when we look at Nyaya, it represents the logical aspect of understanding the reality. Logic, right? Then we have Vaisheshik. Vaisheshik represents the knowledge of the reality at the micro aspect. The Parmanu, the lowest, the smallest aspect. So that is Vaisheshik. Then we have Yog represents the vritti aspect, the thought aspect, the what we call the mental aspect, the mind aspect of this knowledge, right? So you can say that it represents the psychoanalytical aspect of our knowledge, of the knowledge of reality. And then we have Sankhya. Sankhya represents the knowledge of reality at the macro level, at the big level. So that is Sankhya. Then we have Purvamimamsa, which analyzes action, how every action happens in the universe and how it is to be done. So that is Purvamimamsa. And then you have Uttar Mimamsa, or you also call it Vedanta. So Uttar Mimamsa represents the instructions of the knowledge that is represented in the Upanishads, and how to understand the nature of reality as the soul, that is the highest. So that is why Vedanta is considered the highest knowledge. But it does not mean that it is the only way of looking at reality. We look at reality through all the 6 Darshan Shastras. So this Vedanta, when we study, it analyzes the Upanishads, the Vedanta Sutras. And these Vedanta Sutras, they consider 10 main Upanishads. So out of the 108, we have just shortened it down to 10 main Upanishads, which are analyzed in these Vedanta Sutras, so that any discrepancy, because this knowledge of the soul, this highest knowledge, it is very, very, you can say it appears contradictory. There are so many, the one truth can be said in so many ways. So the Vedanta Sutras, they reconcile. the seeming differences. Something, because in spirituality, there is no one single absolute truth. Every truth has many, many aspects. So all these different aspects are revealed by our spiritual texts, right? So out of these 10 are the main, and now out of these 10, there is one further Upanishad, Shvetashvatara Upanishad, which is the 11th, which is also considered in the important section. Why? Because Bhagwan Shankaracharya, one of the most premium of you can say gurus or teachers who has taught, he wrote bhashya or a commentary on these 11, right? So these are considered very, very important. Some people add two more Upanishads, which are also analyzed in this very same way. They are the Maitrayani Upanishad and the Narsim Uttar Tapni Upanishad. These two are also considered important. But of the 10 Upanishads, we have of the 11 Upanishads, you can say that we are considering important. These are the Ishavasya that we are going to study. That is considered the first one, right? It is one of the main Upanishads that we know. So Isha Upanishad is there. Then we have Ken Upanishad, Katha Upanishad, which we just covered before this. Then Prashna Upanishad, then Mundak Upanishad, Mandukya, Aitareya, Taittareya, and Shvetashvara. So, and these are 9 smaller Upanishads. Then there are two very, very big Upanishads. So those two very, very big Upanishads are Brihad Aranyak Upanishad, which we just mentioned a bit earlier also. And the next one is the Chandogya Upanishad, right? So all of these are extracted from different parts of the Veda. Some are from the Ved mantras, and some are extracted from the Aranyaks, some are from the Brahmanas, and some are separately available as Upanishads, which were received by different rishis in their time, different rishis, right? So what is special about this Upanishad that we are going to do? It is the one and only Upanishad out of all the 100 or 1000 or whatever, which is present in the Mantra Bhag, So that makes the Ishavasya Upanishad one of the most special Upanishads. That is why it is usually not the first to be studied. It is studied a bit later after studying other Upanishads, because you should have at least some exposure to Upanishad thought or language before you can enter into Ishavasya Upanishad. So if you remember one special thing about Ved mantras, what is the special thing? They are magical in what sense? All mantras have three meanings in the verbal sense, and one is the vibrational aspect, right? So we saw that. So now Ishavasya Upanishad is also special, that it is also called a Mantra Upanishad. It is called a Mantra Upanishad because it's coming from the Mantra Bhag of the Veda. And that is why its verses also have multiple meanings. In fact, even just one Acharya, Shankaracharya, he has written 3 different versions of Bhashya on Ishavasya Upanishad. They are available at different places. Because he wrote the meaning of one mantra, then he found it was not satisfactory. He wrote another one and then the third. So that in that way, different ways this Upanishad is analyzed, right? And what is the other special thing about this Upanishad? It will teach you about not just knowledge, but how to integrate your knowledge with the other 2 aspects of your physical journey, the karmic aspect and the upasana. It integrates all 3. So it does not take you only towards jnana. It will tell you how to integrate all of these 3. So coming now to the name of this Upanishad, right? So name of this, so Ishavasya. So Ishavasya is said here, is used here because you in some of the Upanishads, not all, some of the Upanishads, the first verse or the first word is used as the name of the Upanishad. So what is the first verse of this Upanishad? Ishavasyam idam sarvam yatkinchit jagatyam jagat tena tyaktena bhunjithaha magrid kasya swiddhanam. So this is the first verse, one of the most beautiful verses in Upanishad literature. It is said to be the essence of all the Upanishads. This first one verse itself. It was the favorite of lot of people. If you've read about Mahatma Gandhi's experiments with truth, there he has mentioned that this is my favorite verse. So a lot of places, a lot of other saints, Lokmanya Tilak, and a lot of others, they have mentioned this verse as being their most favorite because it contains the very essence of our Vedic endeavor, right? So that is why Ishavasya is the name used for this Upanishad. So you sometimes they say, yeah, some people just use the first half of that. So Isha Upanishad, or they say the use the full word Ishavasya Upanishad. So Ishavasya Upanishad is more regularly used for the name of this Upanishad. So Ishavasya Upanishad is this very, very important Upanishad that we are going to look at. So now, first, before we go into the text proper, we'll just understand the meaning of this word Upanishad. So Upanishad is the word which is going to take us to knowledge. So you can divide it into, if we look at the simple meaning part, it is sitting next to a guru. So Up means near, Ni means nitaram or with the very humble feeling, and then Sad means to sit, simply to sit. But it has more deeper meaning because every Sanskrit word has different aspects. So the first part is basically the what we call the pratyaya. It is the beginning part. So that remains the same. So upa means samipe sthitva, and ni means nitaram, or it also means how very involved way we study these texts, a very involved way. So that what is that involvement? A student and the guru. The student and the guru should sit together, and then they will study the Upanishads. So that is Nitara, with total intensity. And then Sad is a dhatu or a root word which has different meanings. So if we look at the dhatu kosh, the Sanskrit meaning kosh, we will see there are three meanings of Sat dhatu. Sat in essence means reality. Sat or the truth or reality. But when we look at what we call the Vyutpatti or the different parts of that meaning, then Sad means, uh, Sad in essence means that Gati, Visharan, and Avasadayan. So we'll come to these three meanings: Gati, Visharan, and Avasadayan. So Gatya, so Gati means to go, movement, right? Gati means to go. And then Visharan means to spread out, uh, to spread out. And Avasadaya means to cool down or to calm down. So how does this fit into the meaning? Now again, the gati or the gam, you say gamayati, that meaning also has three aspects. So that means gati means to go, simple meaning gam. Aham gacchami, so I am going. It means to go. It also means to reach somewhere, attain something, कुछ प्राप्त करना. So if you go somewhere, why do you go somewhere? To attain something. So that in that sense also. And then thirdly is when you reach somewhere, you know that place or that object, right? So I'm talking about Switzerland is such a beautiful place. I wish sometime I would go there one day. So I can read descriptions, I can watch movies, I can watch different, but the real experience will come when I actually go there, when I reach there. So then only will I have the actual knowledge of that place. And then only it will become my experience. Till then, it will be only the experience of other people. So in that sense, gam dhatu also represents knowing. That single word itself, right? And then, so in that sense, Upanishad represents knowledge, knowing the highest reality, knowing my nature, or knowing Brahman. So Upanishad means sitting next to a teacher and getting to know about Brahma, right? And then second meaning is Visharan, to spread out. So because I I am very restricted usually in my view of knowledge until I open my eyes. Until I then only will I get to know. So Visharan also represents merging myself when I flow or when I merge into the highest reality. Then only I will be able to know it more. So whenever we study a topic or subjects, we have to be very very engrossed. पूरा focus करना पड़ता है ना. We have to be very very focused. Then only we can know. So that represents letting go of all our preconceived notions so that we can absorb ourselves into the knowledge of that reality. Yeah? So Visharan. And then avasadayet. Avasadayet means to let go of my different conditionings, vasanas. All my vasanas I have to give up. So once that is happening, then I will be able to have that knowledge, because usually what is happening whenever I am trying to do something, then that with trying to go for some knowledge, then a lot of my different desires crop up and they will take me elsewhere, right? So even if I have to go to a class, suddenly something will come up in between and I might reach late for class or not do the class altogether. And so we need that kind of total surrender by which we are able to attend into a class and or go to a teacher for knowledge. And so therefore I have to be what we call very cool and calm. Shithilikaran has to be there. So in this way, the Upanishad word itself, when analyzed, it tells us about different ways we can attain to this knowledge, right? So Upanishad language, Upanishad texts, all the texts that we understand as the Upanishads, they lead us towards the knowledge of that highest reality, right? So that is the understanding of the Upanishads, right? I hope it is clear. If there is anything, you can ask me at the end. So now, once we are looking at this Upanishads, this text that we are looking is the Ishavasya Upanishad we have seen. Huh? So now, for this Ishavasya Upanishad, we have we have started with the Shanti part that we saw. Na? Purnamada, Purnamidam, Purnat, Purnamudachyate, Purnasya, Purnamadaya, Purnameva, Vashishyate. So if I'll just share it again onto the screen, right? So now we have to look at the meaning of this. Huh? So this mantra is going to tell us to enter into this journey that we are going for and enter it with the feeling of surrender and also with the knowledge of what we are going to study in a very concise or short form. In a short form, this mantra is also telling us about the knowledge that we are going to take. So what does this say? Purnam adaha. This is full. So I'll explain more later on. We'll just go into the mantra later on, but we'll just understand the simple meaning. So Purnam adaha and Purnam idam. This, that is full, this is full. And Purnat Purnam udachyate. From that full came this full. And then Purnasya Purnamadaya. So from that full, when this full is taken out, Purnameva avashishyate. Still the full remains. Right. So it is very, very confusing, right? So that is why we have to have a knowledge of what we are talking about. So now here we are talking about the highest reality, Brahman. So we can treat that reality as one infinite soul without any boundaries. So now, since we have not studied this text further, so if we just take a simple example of another concept that we'll use here, we'll take the aspect of space, right? Space. So Atma or the soul is infinite in all directions. So it is reaching all corners of space. So for now, we will take space. Okay, so now this space, when we look at space can be divided into different parts by different boundaries. So this, we have this room space, we have the walls, we have this outer space, we have the house space, we have the space within a small box. All, but is it a different space? It's not a different space. One single space, all pervading, right? So therefore, out of those different spaces, we give a name to every space according to the walls that are conditioning it, walls that is surrounding it, right? Same way, our consciousness also is a part of the total consciousness, but it is not separate. It is not separate from the total consciousness. So even though my consciousness is functioning through this body, the consciousness itself is not limited. So therefore, there is just one single space, you can say, or you can say there is one single infinite consciousness. So that total consciousness, that total single infinite consciousness is Brahman. So Purnam Adaha, that. So here we are not using the noun, directly using the pronoun. This is a very unique way the Upanishad teaches us. So that Purnam Adaha represents that represents which is not for now known to us. It will be revealed in the text later on. So that is the Parbrahma, the highest reality. And that highest reality is infinite. Now I am not separate from that reality. I am not separate from that reality. So that means that Purnam Idaha. Idam means this. This means this universe of names and forms and experiences that we know. So that is Purnam Idam. So this is also complete. How? So is the space within this room, is it separate from the total space? No, it's just a conditioning. Because of the wall, I call it this room space, or the box space, or whatever space that we are analyzing. But the total space is not separate from that. So that means this space in itself is also Purnaha. It is also complete. It is also infinite, right? So in this way, my soul, the Atma also, my individual consciousness is also one with that total. So therefore, my consciousness and that consciousness of Brahman, they are one and the same only. They are both complete in themselves, complete in each other, respect of each other. So therefore, now if I try to separate, what will happen? Purnat Purnam Udachyate. If I try to separate my Purna consciousness, my full consciousness from that total consciousness, what will happen? Purnasya Purnamadaya. Even if I try to separate it, I will still remain the same infinite consciousness. The space will remain the same infinite consciousness. It will never be divided. You cannot take the room space that you have here and put it somewhere else. It will be the same space only all over. So you cannot change the shape, change the space. So therefore, Purnasya Purnamadaya. So what will be left? Purnameva avshishyate. So everything in aspect will remain Purna only, infinite only. So that is how we are going to understand this reality, right? This reality that we are talking about, that this Purnam or this infinite consciousness is my own true nature. It's my own true nature. That is where we have to understand this. So this is the essence of this mantra. Of course, we can go on and on, but basically what we are understanding from here is that this reality that we are trying to analyze, this is infinite. This is the name at the infinite level, we call it Brahman. And at the individual level, we call it our own individual consciousness. So we have a name for that. We have a name for that individual consciousness, that is the Jivatma. Jivatma is the consciousness, the name that we give to this consciousness when it is functioning through our body, right? When it is functioning through our body. So that is the Jivatma. But at no point we have to remember, at no point is my consciousness separate from that. Why? Because if you remember Tattva Bodha, we saw there, this consciousness when we analyze, it doesn't have any shape. I cannot put a shape to this consciousness. So when is something limited? When is something limited? If I have a box here, if I have something, a book here, it is limited by its shape. It is limited by shape. So it is only existing within the boundaries of this shape, right? So that is how we limit any object. But when something doesn't have a shape, so does your consciousness have a shape? No. You can use your consciousness to reach anything in the universe. Wherever you go, the limitation is not your consciousness is never going to limit you. Your consciousness can reach or know anything. What does your consciousness do? It makes you know. उससे ही जानते हैं हम सब. We know everything using this consciousness. So this consciousness helps us to know anything or everything in the universe, and there is no limit. There is no limit to where we can reach with our consciousness. The only limitation is our sense organs, our indriya. Now, wherever my sense organ can go, I will be able to use my consciousness to know everything. Right? So, in this way, my consciousness is also not of any shape, and hence it is not having any limitations. It doesn't have any kind of limitation. So, in this way, the Shanti part is leading us to the knowledge that we will analyze in more. So, I'm not going into every aspect right now. We will examine these later as we go into the text. The Upanishad itself will reveal. So, there is no need to tell you everything right at the beginning. But I hope you have understood about this nature of consciousness, the consciousness being infinite. How it is, we will analyze a bit more later also. So this consciousness of mind is the same as the universal consciousness, right? The universal consciousness and me are the same, right? So because this consciousness is functioning through my body and my mind, and therefore I see myself as separate. So when this consciousness is functioning through my mind, I observe all the projections that this consciousness has made. So it has projected this whole world of names and forms, this whole huge world of names and forms. It has been projected out of that very consciousness only. So this consciousness has no limitations. So the names and forms that we see, that we call the world outside us, these are known to us through our sense organs. Our sense organs carry information from outside of us, and they bring it inside of us and into my mind. And through that mind, I'm able to know the objects of the world. So the mind and the sense organs together, they produce any kind of knowledge about the world. If the consciousness is not there at the back, I cannot know anything. If the consciousness is not there, I cannot know anything. Like if I'm asleep, or if my mind is not directed towards any object, then I will not know. I will pass by something while in my mind is elsewhere, and I will not know the object. So therefore, the Upanishad tells us that this consciousness is the essence of everything. Without it, nothing can be known, right? Nothing can be known. So the Upanishad is now going to tell us about this reality and its nature as we go deeper with this. So before we enter into the first mantra, I'll just uh, discuss about this with a small story which I've told earlier also about this how we understand this consciousness as infinite. So through these different texts that we study, we have seen that the Lord or Ishwar is infinite. He is everywhere, all pervading. We have heard that. There is a small short story where a student goes up to a guru, and the teacher, he asks him to reveal about his own nature. What am I, or where am I, or what I am doing? So he said, okay, have you understood that the Lord or Brahman or consciousness is infinite? So he says, yes, very well. So he says, then if he is infinite, is he within your whole body? So he says, yes. So he said, is he also within every cell of yours? He says, of course, if he's infinite, he must be within every cell of mine. Then he says, then he is also in the space between the cells. So he says, yes. Is he there in every atom of your being? He says, yes. Is he there in the space between those atoms? Yes. Then he says, if he's everywhere, then where are you? Tum kahan ho? So the student gets stunned and he understands. So this way we have to understand that the Lord or that infinite reality, if it is pervading everything, I am not different from that highest reality. I am not different from that Brahman, right? So once we enter into this study of Upanishads, that is what is going to be revealed. So the Upanishads basically teach what we call Brahma Vidya. They are teaching us about my true nature and the study of the simple basic question of who am I? Who am I? That is the journey into the Upanishads, to know myself, right? Not to know about something else, not to know about some Brahman who's outside there somewhere. No, the study finally is about me only. How, what am I or who am I? That is the uh, basic study or the structure of the Upanishad knowledge, right? So, who am I is the knowledge that the Upanishad is going to uncover. So, step by step, into it goes into the different aspects of who am I. So, if we just enumerate that journey in short, then it teaches us that I have to understand what is my soul. So soul, if you remember Tattva Bodha, there we did this. So just to repeat that, there the student asks, what is, who am I, or what is the soul, what is the Atma? And he says, the Guru says, Sat Chit Anand Swarupa. And then he says, Sthul Sukshma Karan Sharir Vyatirikta. Then he says, Panch Koshatit San and Avastatraya Sakshi. So first of all, he reveals about the nature of the soul or Atma as being beyond the three bodies. So beyond the three bodies. Sthul, Sukshma, Karan, Sharir, Vyatirikta. So Sthul Sharir is the gross body. And the gross body that we see, that we see for everyone. That is, so the soul is apart from that. Soul is apart from that. Then what is the Sukshma Sharir? Sukshma Sharir we saw has 17 components. So they are the subtle parts of the being that we don't see. A subtle part. So that what are the subtle part? The first one, the major one is the mind, right? Mind. So that mind we divide into two parts, man and buddhi. The man is the thought aspect and buddhi is the rational aspect, the analyzing aspect. And then we have the five life forces, pancha prana, the life force within us by which everything moves, everything acts. So that is the pancha prana, the five pranas. So pran, apan, vyan, udan, saman, we saw there. So we'll not go into the details. And then we have the five jnanendriyas and five karmendriyas. So 15 and man buddhi, 17. So these are the sukshma sharir. This is the subtle aspect of ourselves that we can understand. Every moment when I'm knowing something, I can know that there is a sense organ within me which is functioning. I can't see that sense organ, it is subtle. Because why can't I see? Because it is through that only I'm seeing. The eye cannot see the eye. So Swatmani Kriya Abhava, that rule we studied. So those rules also we'll repeat here. So Swatmani Kriya Abhavat is one rule we use to know that anything cannot act upon itself. Right? So eye cannot see itself or the skin cannot touch itself. So in the same way. So all these are subtle powers within us. So they contain the Sukshma Sharir. And then finally is the Karan Sharir. Karan Sharir consists of all our desires, our vasanas, all in the hidden form. So they are hidden within us. Because of them, when they come to the surface, we do any kind of action. So that is total, that is called the Karan Sharir, the causal body. So these are the three bodies. And then we have the five koshas or the five layers of our personality. The Annamaya Kosh, Vijnanamaya Kosh, Pranamaya Kosh, Manomaya Kosh, and the Anandamaya Kosh. So we'll not go into details. So all these are different physical aspects only. Physical aspects of our personality. But the Atma is beyond any physical aspect. The soul is not conditioned by, it is not split into parts by these. Atma is, the soul is ever available all over. So therefore it is something that is all pervading, that we call it. So soul does not have any limitation. So what is the nature of that soul? Sat Chit Ananda Swarupa. Sat Chit Ananda Swarupa. So there we studied that the soul or the Atma is of the nature of Sat. So what is Sat? Sat means it exists. So that there is this knowledge of mine that I exist, it never leaves me. Never does it come to me that I do not exist. And the I exist is something that stays always with me. So that existence aspect, which we call it, is there, is the aspect of the soul. And then we have the Chit. So I know. So I know is something that is also available with me always. So that is also another nature of my Atma. So that is the Chit Swarupa. Without Atma, we cannot know anything, right? So that is the Chit. And then Anandaha. All joy is experienced through the soul only. Anything, any joy that is experienced. So that means what? That the Atma is itself of the nature of joy. So now, if it is of the nature of joy, we analyze there that this joy cannot be limited. So what is the limited joy? The limited joy is the joy of what we call sense experience. Whenever we experience something to our sense, it gives us a certain amount of joy. But that joy is limited. I experience something, that joy is there while the experience is going on. The moment that experienced object goes away, again that joy disappears, right? So that is sensory joy. But what about my true nature? My true nature is infinite. The Atma we've seen is infinite. So since there is no limitations to that, there is nothing outside of me, which is a very big thing. Once we realize that nothing is outside of me, all the objects that I see out there, they are within me only. So this also we saw logically that through when we understand that everything is within me, there is nothing outside of me that I have to strive to attain. There is not, this is going to be the key aspect of the first mantra. So there is nothing outside of me that will that is there to be attained. So therefore, I am of the nature of joy itself. That is Ananda. I am myself of the nature of joy. Joy is my own true nature. And that is called, we use a different word for that also. In English, we say bliss. So it is Sukh or Anand like we use in Hindi. Sukh is temporary or momentary or sensory joy, whereas Ananda is that infinite bliss. It is that infinite bliss which never has ups and downs. So therefore, my nature, the nature of this Atma is Satchit Ananda Swarupaha, and it is infinite. So we'll cover more of this as we go into the text. So we'll just read the first verse then. I will not discuss it today because we won't have enough time. So this is the first verse. Ishavasyam idam sarvam yatkincha jagatyam jagat tena tyaktena bhunjithaha magridh kasya sviddhanam. So what does the verse say? That Ishavasyam idam sarvam. Everything in this world is pervaded by that Lord, Isha, Ishvara. So Ishwar is pervading everything in the world. Yat kincha jagatyam jagat. Every smallest speck of reality, or you can imagine, everything is pervaded by Lord. So nothing can be left out. You cannot say that the Lord can be left out of the inside part of me or the inside part of every atom also. Everywhere he is. Tena tyaktena bhunjithaha. So whatever he has given for us, whatever he has left for us, that we have to enjoy. Whatever he has provided for us, enjoy to the best of our capabilities. So don't run away from the world. Enjoy the world. Magridh kasya sviddhanam. So don't try to snatch someone else's wealth. Therefore, everything is yours only. So enjoy what the Lord is giving you. Because kasya sviddhanam, whose is this wealth? This wealth does not belong to any person. Everything belongs to the Lord. So we'll explain more of this details of this later. So we'll wind up for today because we'll not have enough time to complete the verse. Of course, this first verse itself will take the full class, the next class. So we'll wind up for today then. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Om Tat Sat.